Hey, folks, I'm Nick Iandolo,
And I'm Rosemary Pacheco.
and this is another edition of...
Take Two from Motif Magazine.
So, Rosemary, what are we reviewing today?
We are reviewing Army of the Damned.
Army of the Damned? Oh my God!
Yep.
Yeah!
And it's by a local filmmaker,
Oh, even
Tommy
better.
DeNucci. It had a little bit of everything. Music, effects. I love the effects. And it was funny. I want to ask your opinion on that. What do you think about the storyline? I thought it was really good.
It kind of reminded me of those 80s cult classic films.
It did. I thought Tommy made some interesting casting choices. Music, I think probably most of it by Godsmack, Sully Erna, frontman of the band. He plays Bridge. Bridge is a sheriff of a small town. We're going to say it's a sleepy little town. Not much happens there. But he gets a call, and things go horribly wrong. You know what I appreciated the most?
What?
Using one location and having... it didn't look like that.
Sometimes a really good horror film is just the thing that you need.
This one here, I kind of liked all the different elements and it worked for me. So I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, and I think everybody should check it out, especially because a guy who made the film is local, and we have him here. We're gonna chat with Tommy right now. What gave you this idea?
You know, it was an opportunity from Chad Verdi, my producer, and
yep.
he basically came to me and said, Tommy, I would love to make an Expendables type movie,
Okay.
just with kind of iconic pop culture horror figures. We're both big Sylvester Stallone fans, both big fans of that genre. Their idea to put a bunch of these well-known action heroes in one film and go out there and just have some fun, we kind of tried to adhere that idea to a horror movie.
Yeah.
Where we've got, you've got Tony Todd, you've got Michael Berryman, we've got a flair of some professional wrestling.
Tommy Dreamer.
We've got,
Yep.
Tommy Dreamer and Thea
Yep.
Trinidad, who I can't say enough about them just because when you hire pro wrestlers, not only are you hiring people who are accustomed to acting, but you get a stunt person
You
for
do.
free, basically.
This is true.
There's not a stunt they can't handle.
Gonna
So basically, he came to me with this notion to make this horror Expendables, and I went in my little writing war room and just cranked and
Cool.
that script came out, the first draft, in about 9 days.
Well, one of the things about this movie is that it takes place basically in one location, and that is a house. So tell us about the house.
Well, the most special thing about this house is that it was my parents' house. I'm visualizing a building.
Right.
I'm in this building right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And, my house has always been a creepy place as a kid.
Yeah.
It's one of those older houses, like it's
Creepy.
200 years old. The basement would, I still don't like going down there when I'm alone. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom, you come to the basement with me?
Now, have they seen this movie?
Your
They're
parents
gonna be
reacted.
moving,
I
yeah.
used
funny.
my parents' house as
It's
a
funny because
scene.
I kicked them
Horror.
out
Yeah.
for 3 weeks. I said,
Did you?
guys, it's best that you're just not
just
here
not
for
here.
this
Yeah.
because some things are going to happen that's just going to get ugly. So please, they left for 3 weeks.
gonna
And
get
they
ugly.
weren't even allowed to visit.
Really?
No, you guys got to get out of town.
That's it. You're out.
Now, about 2 weeks in, I didn't call them or anything. They were calling my friend John, like, is
Yeah, yeah.
Tommy alive? Are the cats alive? So basically, 2 weeks in, a spy shows up, and it's my uncle. And I see there's some guy. Tom, there's some old guy. He says he's your uncle or something. I don't know.
Some old
So
guy.
I go
Send me
outside
uncle.
and I see him, and
You're
I'm like, oh man, Uncle Tom, what are you doing here? He's like, got a pretty big operation here. Parents sent me to check it out a little bit, but looks like you got everything under control. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
Could you leave now? But no, he was really cool, and I let him watch some stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right. That's
okay.
He looked around, and
I
it
thought
was.
maybe you might throw him in the movie.
Well, he showed up right when we
Smear some
wrapped
blood.
too, so he must have been confused because
Yeah.
like we had just wrapped, so we weren't even really shooting anymore, and there was just
Yeah.
like a lot of beer drinking going
Oh,
on,
yeah.
and a lot of
Oh.
like people
Oh,
and
yeah.
partying. So he was probably just like, is Tommy just having a party for 3 weeks? There was an on-set twerk competition going on.
No.
Between like a couple of the girls and like a couple of the larger crew members.
Oh, my God.
So he
Oh,
walks into
no.
this twerk competition.
Twerk,
Yeah.
blood, and beer.
So
Wow.
it was a
It's fun,
3-ring circus, but it was great to shoot at home,
That,
and I felt like the Ewoks on the planet of
Yeah.
Endor.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me like the Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead,
Totally.
Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh,
real
yeah.
Evil
I
Dead.
love Sam Raimi.
Totally.
It's got that style to it, definitely.
It definitely does.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a
So, what
compliment.
was it like to work with Tony Todd? 'Cause I love Tony Todd. I've seen him in Star Trek Next Generation, all the Candyman, Final Destination.
You know, there's no question that working with Tony Todd is intimidating at first, especially, I mean, this was just the second film that I've ever directed, and but I had a little confidence going into it because Tony and I were emailing back and forth early on where, he wasn't sure if he was going to do the role or not, but he had read it.
Yeah.
And I felt a very big boost of confidence. He had just done a voice and lent his image in the Call of Duty video games, which for you gamers out there, everybody knows.
Oh yeah, Call of Duty. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and that's got great dialogue. These video games are becoming like movies on steroids now.
yeah.
So the actual plot of this video game is very well written, great stuff. They get a lot of
Mhm.
big actors. So the big compliment was when Tony said to me, he's like, I like this material. Reminds me of that video game stuff I just did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, he's talking about Call of Duty.
That's
I was like,
awesome.
oh.
So there's some very interesting casting decisions in the movie. As I said before, it was creative. It was good. Michael Berryman and Tony Todd, of course, but Sully Erna of Godsmack, who I thought was really good. He was really good. Joey Fatone.
Joey has worked with us before, and it was one of those situations where we knew we could bring him in, and I could plug him in, and I know just how funny he is and how he gets comedy.
Yep.
He's also another one of those
Yeah.
like guys from the neighborhood,
Yep.
bust you up and always joking around and
Right.
lots of fun to be around. And then Sully Erna's a much bigger story, which I have a lot. It's really close to me because one of my first projects as an intern, I was, just working with a local filmmaker, and he was kind of dabbling on maybe doing a project with him, and it didn't work out. And it was one of those things where I had reached out to him and said, hey, man, I really like this. Can I take it for a little while? And I wrote him this story, and I pitched him my idea,
Oh, wow.
and he hated it. It was
Really?
awful. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
What?
So I
Right.
reapproached it after I had directed my first movie, Self-Storage, and I said, hey, man, you remember me? And he was like, yeah, dude, what's up?
I remember
Hey.
you.
And I was like, listen, I've been doing a lot of stuff, and, it's starting to pop. I got this screenplay, and I know he's always wanted to act, and I said, I know you've always wanted to perform, and that's something you really wanted to crack into. And he's one of these talented guys who's just good at anything he does. He's
He was
that much
very
of a hard
good,
worker.
very natural.
So it was one of these things where I sent him the script, he
Yeah.
read it, and he calls me up, and he's a hard rocking dude. He's,
Oh, he's a
got the
hard-rocking
tattoos
dude.
and,
Yep.
and everything. And he writes me back. He's like, Tom, I'm not sure if you got the right role for me. I don't really see myself playing a cop. I'm usually the guy who gets in trouble by the cops. And I was like, yeah, but Sully, this is like a cool cop. He's like a, badass undercover
Bridge, he's a
guy
cool
with
cop.
tattoos, and he'll beat you up behind the bar and then throw you in the cruiser type cop. And he was like, all right, well, maybe that's cool, all
Yeah,
right. So he had
it
opened
was.
his mind up to it. And, before you knew it, he kind of fell in love with the role and fell in love with the craft of acting. And
I have to say, your effects were great. I thought the use of light was really good.
the lighting aspect of it was a guy by the name of Brandon Maxim, who is just an artist with light. He paints with light, and what he does is just unbelievable. And what he can do with such a small light package, because we really didn't have a huge, multi-million-dollar Hollywood budget. So what
Right.
he was
Yeah.
able to do with what we had was give this movie the big movie feel.
Yeah.
And the other guy that really, was new that I had never worked with before, that opened my eyes up to all new things you can do is Ben Bornstein. Who's
He's-
we call him a graphic artist because
yeah.
but not graphic.
I
Like,
know what you mean.
Like graphic,
Yeah,
like
Right.
yeah.
Graphic in the
Artist.
sense of like, ooh, look what he can do with this
Yeah, with some
prosthetics and
really,
this makeup.
he makes
Yeah.
really gross things
He
somehow
does.
beautiful. I could sit here honestly for the whole segment
Yeah,
of the show
talk
talking about like everybody who contributed.
Oh.
There were a lot of big
Yeah.
names. You had mentioned
Michael
the art
Berryman,
department,
yep.
up and coming production designer by the name of John Del Ponte, and
Yep.
we shot this movie in 15 days, which is like almost impossible
that's a
to
tight
shoot a
schedule.
feature in 15
That's a
days.
tight schedule.
And that's a credit to John Schermerhorn, who was our assistant director, who came up with the schedule and made sure that we were shooting 9-10 pages a day.
So, Tom, what kind of other influences did you have?
I don't know if it shows in my films, but guys like Quentin Tarantino were very influential on me.
Yeah.
Guys like, believe it or not, the Coen brothers. I
Yep.
love almost
Oh,
every
Coen
Coen
brothers
brothers
are
is like
awesome.
a favorite of mine. So
Yeah.
really, I love stories that have dark characters that do kind of weird things, and I'm also a fan of lots of blood. I can't help it.
So what I want to mention is that it's good that you're here and you're doing this because Woodhaven is putting us, Rhode Island, on the map. And that's awesome. You really don't have to move anywhere these days.
That's a big credit to Chad Verdi. A lot of people in the past have made films in Rhode Island, one shots, movie here, movie there, then nothing happens for a few years.
Right.
Chad really wanted to make a fully functioning production company.
Right.
That
and
doesn't
he did.
just one and done, make a movie and then you never hear from him again. We are a company that continually puts out product. And it's been that way for 4 or 5 years, and it's not
awesome.
slowing down.
No,
great.
no, it's not, and that's awesome. What are you working on next? I know you're
It's
casting.
top
a movie.
secret!
Oh, we got a secret.
I'm not
project
saying
here.
a damn thing
you
about
come
it.
on our show.
No.
You tease us like this.
No,
Come
I'm not going to
on.
say a whole lot about it,
Okay.
but I will say this. It's very different than anything that I've made in the past.
Okay.
I want to say maybe, my first 2 movies were a little fun and a little silly at times, and
Yep.
I think this movie, I'm trying to maybe mature a little bit as a filmmaker and grow up a little bit on this one, and
Okay.
trying to kind of make something a little bit more meaningful in a way.
Where can we see Army of the Damned?
You can see Army of the Damned on iTunes if you've
Yep.
got one of those computers, with the buttons.
Mhm.
You can see it on Amazon if you'd like to order an actual hard copy and hold it in your hands and
Okay.
hug it and stuff. You can also check it out on bestbuy.com has it. Soon to be Redbox.
Oh,
good.
Redbox.
Soon to be Netflix.
Wow.
Eventually, Netflix will be much later.
Yep.
And also, it's going to hit the shelves in stores at some point.
There you go.
Great talking to you, Tom.
Yes,
Thank you
well
so
done.
much.
Yeah, thank you for
coming and
coming
chatting
on our
with us.
show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Look forward to your next project. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on another awesome edition of
Take 2.
I'm Nick Iandolo,
I'm Rosemary Pacheco.
and see ya.